Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. I love this. I love the pirate community, and I love the fact that we're here today sharing interesting people doing interesting things. And Gary is no exception. I know that we're going to pull some nuggets of knowledge out of this fine gentleman, and we're going to share this on the Pirate Broadcast. So if you're listening live, you're listening to the replay, if you're seeing it, watching it, listening to the podcast, reading the transcription, whatever happens to be, thank you. I appreciate you, all the gratitude in the world. And Gary, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to share a little bit with the pirate community today. So how are you doing?
Hey man, it's good to be here, and it's great to be with you live. That's for sure. And the funny thing is I'm the one that gets to be with the interesting dude today.
Well, you know, we were talking before the show, and I think it's really ironic that we're both drummers, and we're, you know, it's like, okay, so what's the real answer? Zildjian or pasty?
Zildjian.
And we're both Zildjian people, so if that means nothing to you, it's okay. It's just like one of those things that and you know, it's really fascinating too to read your background and look at it, and it's very similar. You know, we've had advertising, we've been multiple different experiences that we had not anticipated.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go back a little bit for those that are not familiar with you. You know, it's like a few years, you know, and you were originally a graphics designer that, you know, kind of evolved into this CEO position and having to take control of your life and your future and everything that goes along with that. And so back us up a little bit and kind of tell us a little bit of the backstory and so people know who you are.
So here's the theme. I have had to learn the art of the pivot. And it was not because right on, buddy. Yeah, I just thought I would be a designer all my life, and then art director, creative director, and then owning an ad agency. Was brought in at the ripe old age of 28 to turn one around, and I had no credentials to do it, but we did. And as we were talking a little bit about in the beginning of the show, is I was really good at being able to relate to CEOs that thought in a very left brain linear fashion. And we were always pushing the envelope to try to win awards, which, you know, is how an ad agency starts building its name. But it couldn't be just client financed creative expression. It really had to be doing what was right for that particular client. And so, you know, I became very good at doing that. Well, long story short, things outside of my control happened a couple times. I caught my partner with his hand in the cookie jar financially a couple times. And then I was in this conundrum because my name was on the door, and I either had to destroy him or I had to destroy my name. And I was not going to do either within my ability, because I really liked him. He just made some bad choices. And so that fast forward, that brought me to Charlotte, North Carolina in 1994. Joined another guy, brought a couple $1 million account. And after we delivered it, he said, "Today's your last day. I got what I need." And so, you know, it's like, wow.
Wow.
In Charlotte, North Carolina, which is not necessarily LA, New York, or Chicago, or Minneapolis at the time, which were all pretty hot ad agency places. And so got hired into a couple of the banks and got to do some interesting things there. Got hired away to run a .com, which I thought, I have no business doing this. And
was that before 2000 or after 2000?
That was right at 1999 is when they recruited me.
Yeah.
So experienced the craziness of the .com bubble. I mean, and I have got some funny stories that would blow your mind, but
yeah.
anyway, that blew up. And then a year later, we were still viable, and we sold 20% to Microsoft. And I could have stayed there for a long time, but I had merged two companies while I was at Bank of America on the side. That was kind of a fun thing to do. And these two guys came and said, we'll give you a third of the company to come and be president of this thing, because they really wanted it to be a merger. And I don't know what you think about mergers, but I don't think that there is such a thing. I think somebody acquired somebody, and somebody tried to make somebody feel good by calling it a merger. And but these guys really wanted, and they had about equal size shops. So they said, you come and be president of it. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And about a year later, one of those partners got sick and was uncomfortable. And I had to go do something, and that something was in Cleveland, Ohio. And so the art of the pivot again, but I'm still in the ad agency business. I'm thinking, oh, this is great. And it was with the largest privately held agency in the country. And I was running a 100-person office up there. A year later, we shut down one of the other offices, and the guy that was running Cleveland before I came back and said, basically, I'm in and you're out. And so the art of the pivot again. And that then I had a little bit of money at the time, and I invested in a private equity company, and we served ultra high net worth families all over the country, and some very notable names. And I don't come from huge money like that. I mean, these were really big ticket people. And I was very concerned actually about, would I become covetous, because I just did not want that. And the thing that was interesting, so they bought my company. I invested with them, and then a year later they bought my company. And basically I got to do all kinds of things. And then unfortunately got to shut down 11 offices after the CEO got ousted in 2009. And bucks worth of us got torched. Art of the pivot again.
Oh man.
And so
well versed in the pivot.
Pretty much lost everything at that point. Didn't lose my house, but was brought into an insulating glass manufacturing company. One of our private equity board of managers owned it, and it was hemorrhaging money. And I said, Edmund, I don't have any background in this business at all. He said, it doesn't matter. We'll teach you.
Hey, you're a creative guy. You'll figure it out. I can just hear that conversation, Gary.
The MacGyver part.
Come on. No worries.
Oh, my goodness. And, I kept thinking, I don't know anything about this industry. But, at the end of the day,
yeah,
I learned along this really crazy journey is there are a few things that we're typically pretty good at.
Yeah.
Find out what those things are and then apply them wherever you are.
Yeah.
Try to serve versus be served. I think that is, it's super simple. Let's just keep it simple, because I'm from Kansas. I got to keep it simple, man.
That's brilliant. Learn what you do well and then create value from it every time.
Yeah. And what's interesting too, Russ, is that I used to overcomplicate things. Oh, well, I don't have the credentials for this, or, well, unless you're a brain surgeon or a scientist, maybe you can apply whatever you're good at in other industries. And that was the thing. I actually got drug into other industries that my mind was super closed off to. I mean, bizjournals.com.
You would never have ventured down that path to be in that industry.
No.
So you're saying about BizJournal? Did you create the book of lists?
No, they did. And boy, that's a cash cow.
That is a cash cow.
That is a cash cow. Brilliant. So the guy that
more than once, I tell you.
Yeah. The guy that started that, his name is Ray Shaw, and he's passed away. But we're not in Kansas anymore. And actually, I'm really glad about that. I'm happy to be in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Hills and trees, and we're close to mountains and beaches, which is I mean, 3.5 hours to the beach, but
Yeah.
I feel like I live on the beach compared to Kansas. So,
Yeah, no kidding.
but anyway, Ray was the head of Dow Jones and Wall Street Journal, and he stitched all these business journals together, and he understood content was king. And it was that was a really interesting thing. And we ran everything very, very conservatively in the midst of the craziness of everything that was going on in .com. The more money you lost, the better your valuation is, until the merry-go-round stopped of 2000. And there are some really funny stories from that time. But it was really neat to be part of a kind of an old guard, really smart guy that had a really smart businessman. I mean, you can't be running Dow Jones without being smart, but also very principled. And we ran things smartly. And he saw the future. He saw where not broadcasting, but he saw where newspapers and publishing was going. And so, I got to learn under him, and I don't know, man, I just think, I wish I would have paid attention to that a little earlier and faster, when people would say no, because they could see it, I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's true. I've got a friend who has one of his coaches is a good friend of mine, and he always said it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar. And
I love that analogy, and it's so true.
So true.
So true. It's funny, and especially being a graphic artist, in the creative process. So you think about things in a slightly different perspective. You're a visual learner, at least for myself. That's why it's like I need to see kind of the roadmap and kind of map it out and draw it on a whiteboard or something like that. And then it becomes visually, it implants in my mind. And for in so many industries, I think the thread is really common in the fact that you're adding value. I get the impression that you're very approachable, you're easy to be around, and very you're able to communicate accurately what you need to be completed, what has to be completed in order to accomplish a goal. And I just get that impression, from our conversation here today. And with that skill set, it's really easy to transfer that skill set into multiple industries. And so I just really think that, if people add value and they have a little bit of empathy, and, they can listen and understand what's going on around them, you can build a team quite easily. And then once you get that teamwork, and then it's just, the vision is the part that you really need to pay attention to. And being an artist, the vision is the part that you already had down. So it's kind of, that's how I frame it anyway. It's kind of, am I wrong? Is that fairly accurate? I mean,
yeah, I think you're right on. And part of the challenge for me in my evolution and growth was early on. So, and you'll remember this. So remember Fallon McGilligan out of Minneapolis, like they have won all the award shows, right?
Yeah.
My mentor was one of the guys that started it up in Minneapolis. Okay. And that was my quest. I'm like, hey, that's what I want to be. And I was very vision focused. And the problem is I became a steamroller at times over my people. If they weren't in line with that, the vision was so clear. And quite frankly, looking back on it, the vision was flawed. I mean, who cares? Who cares whether you're building a Fallon McGilligan? The end of the day, at least for me, is I boil it down to something really simple. I want to know that my wife and children, and now my grandchildren who know me best, that they would say, you made a positive difference in my life.
Yeah.
Positive impact. And if they say that, and then if my colleagues and the people that I work with and the people that I serve, that's a far more important vision than whether I won accolades and was, recognized at Cannes or whatever. Who cares? Who really cares? And so I wish again, could I wind the tape back 30 years and go back and redo some of this stuff? And, if I could, that's what I would have done, is I would have accelerated, get clarity. But you know what? I don't know that you get it sometimes with fire.
It's only 2020 that you have a little hindsight,
Yeah.
And the reality, it's the same way with myself. It's like you think, and this is one of the things that I really have a little bit of reflection on it at times, is that the dream that you're pursuing at times becomes the nightmare you're living when you fail to understand what it is you really want.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your family, having peace of mind, leaving a legacy that you made a difference in their lives and their future, and spending time with family and friends and people that matter. Sometimes that's a bigger opportunity than any award you'll ever receive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And, I think it's sometimes the things that we see in others that drive us crazy are really the things that drive us crazy about ourselves, right?
Yes.
And, I remember getting all nervous at award shows and all this and that. But I would also see some of the people that were like just slaying it, prancing in their, some of them would be very made up, right? I mean, like big garb. You'd think that they were Elton John or something.
Very visible.
Yes. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what I was looking for too, like validation. And at the end of the day, who cares? It really doesn't matter. And again, when going through some of the crucibles that we've been through, it just took me back down to bedrock of what was really important. And some of the people that I got to serve along the way and work with, people that were far more accomplished than I would have ever imagined, and that I'd even get to hang around. They were some of the most humble and others focused people, and I was like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that they could never spend all their money. Who cares? It was the way that they treated people. The people, they were genuinely thankful and they were genuinely grateful. And I think that's another thing that I would say, man, the art of the pivot and some of those really deep and dark times that we've been through, I learned intentional gratitude. And which seems really strange when your world is blown apart and you don't really want to wake up in the morning, but to get intentionally grateful, to remember the blessings that have been in your life and that are in your life. I mean, you have to know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, and fall three floors and, bust up your arm the way you did. And to have that change your trajectory in some ways, you had to learn. I mean, look at you, you're smiling. You got gratitude, man.
Every day I wake up with gratitude, Gary. And what you're speaking of is really resonating with me because, I've accelerated to the top, been tossed out the window, fallen down, lost everything.
Yeah.
Gained it back, lost everything. It's like, and it's just like, okay. And that's why I think it's so important for people to understand that it's not the prize that is the real accomplishment. It's knowing that you have gratitude for the journey, know that you could get up and you have an opportunity to change your day, change your life, change people the lives around people around you, and know that you can add value every single day. And it's not about me. It's about how can I serve and how can I make an impact, make it matter is what I say, And that's what it's really about for me is understanding that that's the thought that I get into when I get up. That's why I do these shows every day. You know, it's like, okay, I played for 4 years every single night for 4 years in a row at one point in time. I was a house band for 2 different locations, and I played every single loved it, you know. And I did fairly well at it, and you know, I was living the life, and then you know that evolved into something else, and then I toured on the road and did that routine and everything else, and I was happy. I mean, I wasn't rich, I wasn't wealthy by you know by money standards, but I was wealthy by my life, you know, having my life. And the reality is that we can add value in many different ways. And I think people pursue like the Instagram persona or the social media. And that's what's toxic is the life of comparison. You know, it's like you're like looking at the agency and saying, I want to win that award is not the same as, hey, let's go out to the movies, kids. And you know, it's just a different feeling you get when you have some things to offer to those around you. So it's,
you know, one of the things that hit me in the last year or so was this notion that comparison kills gratitude. Think about that.
Yes, absolutely.
Gratitude. You know, and sometimes like, well, at least I'm not so and so. You know, at least I don't have that problem. You know, I don't gain joy from somebody else's misery.
No.
You know, it's like, oh, well, you should feel good because, you know, it's kind of like growing up as a kid. Hey, you eat that food because there are people starving. Well, ship it to them. You know, that's it. That didn't change things.
No.
You know, and there is something to be having empathy, but I think empathy, at least for me, comes from gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, and especially when you learn it when you feel like the world has just come crashing down and you cannot see tomorrow.
Yeah.
Those are the moments, at least for me, that, man, I wouldn't wish some of the things that I've been through on my worst enemy. And yet some of those things have been the areas where there's been this sweet surrender and like crushing sweetness. That's the only thing that I know how to say is almost like crushing grapes releases beautiful juice, right? And it's not fun. And I don't like it. I wouldn't sign the Crucible line or the wine press grapes in here, you know, no. But life is that way. I mean,
life is that way. And the most beautiful moments have evolved from the worst circumstance in my life.
Yes.
You know, growing back into, you know, evolving from the experience and knowing that I have survived bits and pieces of tragedy have allowed me to flourish in my thoughts and my ideas, and also, you know, my gratitude. And so I think it's really important for us to understand that, you know, I don't, you know, there's a lot of people going through some challenging times right now, and I'm not going to diminish anything that's going on around us. And I think that, you know, now more than any other time in history, we have an opportunity to decide, is it the dream or is it the baggage we're carrying? And is it really worth what we're investing our time and effort into? And what is it that we really want to truly do? And it takes a lot of, I think, self-reflection and understanding of who we are and what we really are about in order for us to accomplish that goal. And when you're only allowed that opportunity when you're quiet enough. And when you look at everything, you have an opportunity to be quiet. So
that is really true. And you know, the funny thing is I have to force myself to be quiet right now because I don't have extra time. I'm working 14 and 15-hour days right now, which is crazy. but that's what's demanded right now, just with the amount of kind of businesses that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
You are absolutely right. You know, we still have to force ourselves into quietness to think and this is why I think Simon Sinek is so powerful and why he resonates with so many people. He starts with such a simple thing, the why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing what you do? You know,
Yeah.
it applies against businesses and their brands and all that, but it applies to us. If we don't answer our why, we're going to be chasing the stuff or the accolades or, you know, trying to feed our own insecurities and make them feel secure again.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important. And especially in these times, man, you know, where it seems like a lot of us are in this, but the thing that I find amazing is I work with some people, some industries have just been crushed.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought dental offices?
Oh.
You know, who would have thought? I mean, that's about as recession proof as it comes. And yet one of our big clients is the largest dental practice in the state. Well, lots of overhead and no income for 2 months.
Yeah. Can make a difference. Make a
Crush
huge difference.
And so I'm grateful for some of the governmental programs and this and that. But I also know folks that have pivoted really hard when they saw this thing coming, whether it be, you know, gyms and they started doing online stuff.
Yeah.
You know, people that have moved into online. And I'm just amazed at some of my friends, what they've done to shift. And they're actually having banner years right now.
Well, and here's the thing that I reflect on a little bit, and we could talk for another hour, Gary. And I know, and I know you're busy, and I want to make sure I'm considerate of your time. So the pivot is also a huge opportunity for businesses to think about, is like how they were used to doing business may not necessarily how they need to be doing business in the future.
Yeah.
You know, remote workers are, really common right now. And a lot of organizations are thinking, do I really need to spend time on this real estate? Do I need to have this overhead in this landscape and this real estate? And I don't know if the answer is yes or no. It's going to be different for everyone. However, it's really a shocking discovery that was forced upon them from a unique circumstance that requires a pivot, regardless of where you are. And I think a lot of people are starting to think about that and how you can actually create a new adventure. And I think, a lot of money's been made in the past on down cycles and crushed economies and things like that, because the creativity comes alive. Stay curious, stay creative, look for opportunities. And when you're in that mindset, it's really easy to see how you can help people when you add value. And it's the same story whenever we're in history. When we look at history and we say, what's the opportunity in this circumstance? So
yeah, and it's hard to do that when we're in fight or flight mode. That's where we have to get quiet, and that's where I think gratitude, and I'm not a big kumbaya guy or anything like that, but I think gratitude really it releases a lot of stuff, at least in me, and it gets me grounded and gets me peaceful, and I'm not thinking in a reactionary, fear-driven mode.
Yeah.
Thinking I'm more in a what if. Those were my two favorite words together as a creative. What if?
Yeah.
What if we would do this and do that? Think about
Think about that. So what's in the future for Gary? I know we're wrapping up here today, and I want to make sure that a few people get an idea about what you're thinking about, what you're driving toward, what's keeping you working 14, 18 hours days. And it's like,
goodness, they're not 18. Yeah, it's not any different at this. My thrive is in helping connect good people to solve problems, and it happens to be in a CPA firm, which I would have never imagined. But this is at least this firm. I was sending people, coaching clients of mine, to them because they're a number of us have actually started, run, or turned around companies. And I think the people that are running companies are the ripple makers. They're either making good ripples or bad ripples. I've worked for some crappy bosses and for some amazing bosses. And so for me, that is still a passion, which is, hey, let's help these businesses get healthy and help these owners who that's sometimes the loneliest place in the entire organization to run a company. Let's get them healthy. And that remains the same. I'm doing some podcasting too, which is kind of fun. We're doing a thing called Anything But Typical, and we're featuring those business owners and entrepreneurs, and I want to hear their story. And so I'm learning on that kind of stuff, but I think the core remains the same. How do I serve somebody? How do I connect people and solve problems creatively and help them get their to where they're running their companies to where it's more fun? I think business should be fun, and it can be. It's hard, but it can be fun. Life is hard, but it should be fun too.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard as you make it too. I mean, it's like, okay, there's challenging times every day. We all have challenges, and like you said, let's have fun with it. Make it matter. So
exactly.
Well, Gary, this has been phenomenal. I really appreciate the time and energy, and I'd love to have conversations again in the future. And whenever you're available and want to come back and give us an update, let's make that happen as well. So
I'd love to do that. Let's do it offline again too. There's a kindred spirit there that I really enjoy about you. I
want to give a shout out to some of the people here. Lonnie Ray was here, Gabriel, Angie, Jimmy, Con, some people, Kathy, Fred, Nick Dorsey, thanks for being here. A lot of people connect with the pirate community, and now that you're a pirate, you're part of the community. So it's nice being involved and engaged in some of the amazing people that come by and have a chat with me every morning. So thank you so much.
Russ, I really appreciate it. It's a blessing that you're doing this.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it. And, it's funny because at one point in my time in my career, one of my many careers, it was a fun job. It was selling office supplies. And the fascination that I had was the curiosity. You drive in these industrial parks and you see company after company after company, and they have a brand on the building, and you think, I wonder what they do. And so with office supplies, I could go in and say, what do you do? And then find out. And it's kind of the same curiosity. It's like, what are you doing, Gary? Why are you doing it? And
yes. Yeah.
What are you creating today? So it's an analogy of the same kind of involvement and engagement. And it's nice for others to see a new perspective, because it's like, you're not inside the jar reading the back of the label, right? So
it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar, and that's why we need one another.
Yeah, exactly. In it together, man.
Yeah.
And as you know, everyone, kindness is cool and smiles are free. So you enjoy the day. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.